Hey folks, my name is Pravus and welcome to more Hearts of Iron 4 Old World Blues. We are returning this mod because during my sabbatical, a major update was released which overhauled a lot of different factions for the New Mexico and Colorado regions. And since we're trying to go back to old school Pravus content, of course we're going to have to take a look at the latest stuff in Old World Blues. So let's go ahead and play with Bull's Domain over here. Now a lot of factions were reworked, I'm not going to go over all of them right now, but there is one in particular that I thought looked pretty cool, simply because this is just a really cool icon. The luminous ones? Basically, we're gonna be playing as necromantic ghouls, I think is the point of this, which sounds awesome. So we're this tiny little group right here next to Black Canyon. Let's give it a go. And here we are with just a handful of units. Oh boy, this is not much of a start now, is it? Now, for those who have not seen my Old World Blues playthroughs, because it has been a while, we really try to immerse ourselves a bit more into the Fallout universe. That does mean a little bit of lore reading and stuff like that. If you don't like that too much, be ready to go ahead and skip forward a little bit, but I'm hoping you guys will enjoy it. So let's go ahead and take a look at the focus tree. First off, we are led by the Great Glowing One. None can say who he was before traveling the wastes as a preacher. Certainly sounds like some sort of an enlightened cult leader to me. This is going to be great. So, first we start off with Once a Man. This, of course, is going to give us a bit of backstory, very typical in Old World Blues. First, like 4 or 5 focuses are almost entirely just story and background. We've got really no infrastructure here to speak of, do we? What about production? 2 military factories. Oh boy, this is gonna suck. At least as far as research is concerned, we are at intermediate on all of our techs except for robotics. So no robots for us, but we're not primitive at least, so that's something. Well, in that case, we'll go ahead and get our standard research techs. I want to get some construction techs, all the normal stuff. And then as far as our different laws, I mean, obviously we're going to be allowing ghouls, like that's a thing. Actually, well, I was going to say, wait, we're rejecting ghouls? No, we're actually rejecting all normies. Non-ghouls are not allowed in our army. Oh, that's a funny little reversal of what I'm used to. Alright, and here we go, backstory time. The Great Glowing One, blessed be his will, no one needs question his holiness. Prayer for the Misled, Book of the Glow, 519. The figure of the luminous ones, the necromancer, known as the Great Glowing One, does not talk or discuss his life before the glow, nor do any of his followers. Some of his closest advisors do not believe he himself remembers. However, he talks of things only those born or having lived before the Great War could know. The decadence of America, the greenery of the land, the civility and mundane nature of life in a nation that was only years away from recovering or collapsing in on itself. However, the Great Glowing One was not always so great. Unbeknownst to all his followers, aside from his closest and most trusted devotees, the Great Glowing One remembers being sickly and ill. He remembers machines made for monitoring health beeping wildly, cries of sorrow, and looks of solemn regret. A long droning wail followed by a series of sudden beeps. He does not know why he was sickly, but those memories of mortality gave him all the reason he needs to never submit to weakness ever again, made reality through his becoming of a glowing one. In truth, the Great Glowing One's time before the Great War was marked by... Alright, what do we want here? We could go for intelligent, which gets more leader experience and planning skill, charismatic, recovery and logistics, or strong, attack and defense plus attack skill. I mean, it's really hard for me to say no to just straight out more combat stats. That said, division recovery is not bad. Logistics is often kind of important, especially in Old World Blues. I am debating going for charismatic. You know what? Yeah, we're gonna do that. If nothing else, then just for the roleplay of it. I think that makes sense. Moving on to Then a Beast. The Great Glowing One, after the Great War, spent much time wandering the new wasteland that America had become. He saw ordinary animals become mutated beasts. He saw those like himself go mad with rage, sadness, or worse, never to recover. He was shot at by early survivors who did not understand or care for the green glow of their visitors, lest they potentially contract it themselves. At times, the Great Glowing One once again suffered between the knowledge of if he even needed to consume food or drink. All of these and more factored into the eventual descent into madness of the Great Glowing One. Visions of things that weren't there, grotesque distortions of otherwise normal or unassuming sights, even cries and calls from an androgynous voice begging him to come back. He was on the brink of becoming those that he had seen, feral, beastly, and mindless. It was only with the arrival of a lucid and slowly deranged Great Glowing One to a radioactive wasteland just outside the cordon sanitaire of Nebraska. Ho! On yonder! A brilliant vision engulfed the mind and cleared the eyes of the Great Glowing One. He set about to bring his vision true. Chant of Clarity, Book of Glow, 313. Okay, very religious. What do we want to go for here? Construction, speed, division, defense, starting defense skill of new leaders, and supply efficiency. All of this is solid to start. Let's see, war penalty, stability modifier. Good if we're going to be going on the offense a lot, and we are. Or the vision of truth, reconnaissance, research speed, encryption, blah, blah, blah. I gotta say, I think the construction, defense, and supply efficiency is huge. I'm going with that. Now, a priest. From the ashes of despair and the depths of madness, the Great Glowing One emerged with a newfound purpose, as radiant and unyielding as the glow itself. He would be the shepherd of humanity's radiant future. His travels took him far and wide, seeking wisdom and truth wherever it could be found. One pivotal stop was Gravestone, where the Bishop of Plutonius taught him the sacred rites of atomic reverence. There he learned to wield radiation as both salvation and weapon, to split ignorance like an atom under pressure, releasing the cleansing light of conversion. When he left Gravestone, it was with their fiery blessing. In the glow, all are reforged. Returning to the cradle, the Great Glowing One began his mission in earnest, his silver-green tongue working tirelessly, preaching to humans and ghouls alike, proclaiming the inevitability of ghoulification as humanity's next holy step. One of his first converts was the Glowing Father, once a pre-war Buddhist refugee and living embodiment of the Tantric mysteries, who had wandered the wastes for decades in search of peace. The Glowing Father's tranquil demeanor and deep understanding of suffering brought a spiritual weight to the Great Glowing One's burgeoning movement, and together they traveled the wilds, bringing followers back to the cradle. While the Glowing Father prided himself on converting through compassion and reason, the Great Glowing One, haunted by memories of his encounters with violent and hostile wastelanders, took a different approach. He began constructing a private sanctum where he could experiment on faith, humanity, and the glow itself. There he performed rituals of conversion on the unwilling, their screams echoing through the cradle as flesh and faith were reforged into something new. Witness, my disciples, though unworthy shall be stripped of their weakness, their fragile humanity split apart like an unstable isotope. And from this radiance the devout ghouls shall emerge, baptized by the light of the glow. The Great Glowing One, Book of Eternity, redacted. I like the background of this so far, by the way. This is sounding pretty good. Sounds very culty, and you all know I'm a big fan of that one. So what do you want here? A little bit of manpower and some pipe guns, experience and some bicycles, or research bonuses. I mean, even a little bit of manpower can be good. How much manpower do we need for a lot of our more basic divisions? 150 over there, 100 for that, 100. So it's not even really a whole division to do this. Are we really behind on like a lot of guns? We're not, so I don't have to do this. 50 manpower really is not much. I don't know about basic technology though. I'm thinking that maybe we just go ahead and grab the experience. The scrap bicycles will be harder to come by, so maybe, I don't know. That one's questionable. Betrayal by heretics? Oh no. Let me guess, it's gonna be these Glow's Cradle people up here, isn't it? Yeah, the Glowing Father. Oh, I'm gonna go ahead and immediately send my troops up in this direction, because I got a feeling we're gonna fight this guy. The Glow's Cradle, having grown and grown over the years, slowly went from a radioactive wasteland into a near military-industrial complex. Crucifixions were set up at the mouth of the most radioactive pits for conversion of the most devout humans. Armories, barracks, and armored churches sprouted up across what little land could be settled on. Sermons of peace and prosperity were slowly replaced with angry shouts of conversion for the unworthy and gifts for the ungifted. The Glowing Father, having gone on longer and longer individual missions, slowly realized the militant conversion of the faith he had once been a harbinger of, and sought to make things right. Taking the Great Glowing One aside after a sermon, the Glowing Father referred him to a location across the river that could be the next step of expanding the faith, with pre-war water treatment facilities and abandoned uranium mines that can make for a new conversion center. In reality, the Glowing Father had only visited the location once, deeming it worthless and unable to be properly restored by anyone, even his own followers. It was with this knowledge that he sent the Great Glowing One and the majority of his militant mass on their way. After they had crossed the river, he and his peaceful acolytes built outposts and barricades across the river, ensuring that it could not be crossed, and locking the newly luminous ones to their side of the river. The Great Glowing One had only realized the trickery after several weeks of lost contact. He set his followers out to claim the heavily irradiated ruins of Cheyenne while establishing himself at the Red Mountain in preparation for conflict with those who had taken a very hostile reapproach to his faith. The Baggers, due to their faith that no one should be forcefully converted to any religion, let alone forcefully ghoulified, and the Withered Dogs for their experiences with religious charlatans in the past. Okay, so I guess we're not going to go fighting across the river, which is probably for the best. What do we want here then? Infrastructure and bottle caps, so we could go for a civilian workshop or an arms workshop. I suspect we're going to need to do a lot of early conquests, which means an arms workshop probably is going to be the better way to go right now. We could start training up feral ghouls. I mean, that is a unique thing for us that could actually be pretty solid. How much logistics do we have right now? We've got 185 guns, we got 50 of these restored vehicles. I don't have any feral ghouls. I can do this to, at the very least, make sure that we don't lose any progress there. And I should be able to train up one more round of Luminous Lancers, so let's go ahead and do that. And then we have branching choices. The question is, what do we do now? Well, we could go for some political power, generally not a bad thing to do, get that stability, go for civilian workshops, and so on. Use that to start snowballing our economy just a little bit. The question really is, how quickly do I think I'm going to need to go to war? Oh wow, some of this stuff's really good down here, by the way. Red Mountain gets some extra materials fine with the written word. Production efficiency retention 10%, research speed 5%. Solid. So yeah, that's good. What about Armies of the Faithful? This looks like it's going to give me more opportunities to expand my military. Yeah, we can get some more leaders, we can get some more guns, ultimately leading to some pretty decent bonuses for our ghouls. Or we could decide which virtue we want to follow, the virtue of patience, faith, or wrath. It's not obvious to me which of these is honestly going to be great. It just kind of depends on, like, if we want to be very aggressive or not. What is this lit fuse? The virtue of wrath removes days from a lit fuse timer. The virtue of patience adds it. That must be a special event. Yeah, sure enough, there it is. Okay, so if not completed in 317 days, we automatically declare war on the Baggers and the Withered Dogs. Ah, so we're going this way. It's just a question of, do I buy time to ramp up, or do I take time off and go fast? It's hard to say which direction I want to go. The virtue of faith is a pretty balanced way to go. We get some extra workshops for civilian, we get some naval, we get some military, we get all those factories. Patience really just gets me a lot more construction speed plus defensive bonuses, so if we want to wear people down, that's one thing. I'm more inclined to say that we need to go aggressive, though, with the virtue of wrath. Even though this is going to ruin my supply consumption, it is going to get me a lot of extra breakthrough, which could be huge. Plus, we're going to lose some infrastructure in favor of getting a whole bunch of energy cells and other materials, etc. But there's a lot of military equipment to get out of this, and we would be able to get a pretty cool special effect down here later. I think to start, we'll go for the House of Worship because it's always good to go for the early political power, but I might go down the path of wrath. I mean, we've got a little bit of time to work with here. If I can stock up like another 150 infantry equipment, I could train up some more Undying Knights. So we've got something special over here, right? We've got the Ghoul Infantry going for us, which it's hard to say how good these are compared to normal soldiers. It appears that they have generally better defense and supply usage than normal infantry, so that's pretty good. What about the ferals, though? Like, what are these guys good for exactly? Compared to regular ghouls, the ferals have better breakthrough, better soft attack, hard attack, and so on. So, yeah, ferals are offensive, ghouls are more of my bread and butter, I think, and then militia are just the cheap units to fill up my back line. Okay. I've never played with ghouls before in Fallout. It's not really been a thing for me. We've allowed them sometimes, but like, I can't say that it's ever been the focus of my faction. So I'm gonna be very curious to see just how effective these guys really will be. All right, so we have our House of Worship. Let's go ahead and work on the Mantras of Peace for the extra civilian workshops. And now that we have enough equipment, we'll also start training up one more round of Undying Knights. You gotta be careful not to overtrain in Old World Blues. It's very tempting to just start spamming out troops like you would in the Mace game, but here, not usually a smart play. Manpower is a very, very precious resource. Now, do we have any like really good economic advisors or something we can make use of? I mean, economy and trade laws are okay. Factory construction speed will be good later for sure. This is pretty solid for us now. And then interestingly, we can get really good infantry equipment. It's cheaper to produce and it does better stat damage. That's weird, all right? Not what I would have expected for a, economic advisor, but sure. And some guys who can get me a lot of extra recruitable population. Not bad. Usually I would say go for some extra political power. 10% is actually, I think, going to be better than 0.1. This should be worth about 0.2 since our base is 2. So this might be good. Suppose we could also take a look at military high command and just see if there's anything here that's obviously great since we don't have a lot of time before we go to war. No, I think we're gonna go ahead and take the political power guy. So that's gonna be worth a bit more, so we should be making another 0.2 or so per day. So that'll start paying for itself eventually. I fall ill? Oh, come on. Also, I just noticed, are we literally constructing nothing? What do you mean no factories have been assigned? I've only got one civilian factory and it's all going to consumer goods. Oh, that sucks. All right, well, we're not making any progress there. We're gonna go ahead and focus everything I got on an arms workshop. Once I get these extra factories, which should be about now, then hopefully we can go for a little bit of production. It's not gonna be fast enough though, that's the problem. So, is it still worth going for a lot of extra manpower down this direction, or would it be better to start going down here, grab the military factories before the war? I think the answer is yes. I actually really need more military factories just so we can get enough equipment to get enough troops and stand a good chance. It's really gonna come down to how quickly can I take down the baggers. If I can have, let's say, all of my motorized along here and do a rapid push to take Scott's Bluff, maybe we can finish them quickly, but the more manpower I have on the front line, the easier this is gonna get. Is there anything else I could do that would make a lot of sense here? We could add some time onto the lit fuse, or we could remove some, or a trait slot. Well, that seems really good under all circumstances. Interesting. We should definitely save up some political power because we have the option to focus on the baggers or the withered dogs and get some extra attack bonuses and defense bonuses against them. I am going to go for Felix Campbell a little earlier here, by the way. The extra soft attack plus the reduced production cost for pipe guns means we can throw a few extra out there before the war starts. I don't know if it's going to be enough to make much of a difference and get one more set of troops trained up, but once we finish up getting the agriculture technology, we'll get 250 more manpower. That means I should be able to field out at least a couple more militia, if nothing else. So I want to make sure we have plenty of infantry equipment to make that a thing. Let's get those military factories up and running ASAP. And quick question, what is this? This must be something new that was added in the latest version of Old World Blues. Artillery. Siege engines, mortars, howitzers, nuclear artillery? Huh, they got new goodies. I love it. Well, let's take a look at our doctrines. We should definitely think of something we can work on here. I mean, isn't there a special, yeah, there we go, outsider warfare. Maybe we can do something here. This is usually for mutants, though. I don't know that I count as a mutant. I think I count as a ghoul, and that's going to be different here. So I don't think this actually does me any good, which is a dang shame, because this would have been kind of cool to go for once. Well, we definitely can't use automated warfare. I don't think it'll make a lot of sense to go for refined warfare. That kind of leaves asymmetric and conventional. Conventional will have a lot of the entrenchment and planning bonuses, plus a decent amount of extra breakthrough and coordination. And maybe, just maybe, I could go down trooper warfare to make my ghouls very, very strong. Or I could just go down the asymmetric warfare, go for ancient tactics, get lots of organization and breakthrough in my armies, plus just fit in some more combat with. This might be the way to go. It's really hard to say. I think I will go down asymmetric warfare. I pretty much never get to use this, so let's give it a go. All right, so there's my arms workshops. So now I think we want to start focusing. The manpower here is pretty good too. 200 more manpower. Solid, but how long can I wait? Because I really want to work down this Virtue of Wrath. If I go down this route and get all the way down to the bottom, so long as I'm at war with the baggers and the withered dogs, I'd get something called Glowing Martyrs. Extra attack, less defense, but more aggressive pushes. I think we might barely have time, but let's go ahead and start working down the Virtue of Wrath. I will probably need to buy a little bit more time here with the lit fuse. So I'm gonna spend 75 political power to go ahead and boost this up, just to give us a little bit more time since we're about to burn through all of this anyway. I can get myself a whole bunch of extra guns, which will be great. So it's gonna get me to a proud parish, which gets me another arms workshop. Take 15 more days off of this. That's gonna bring us down to almost 100. Okay, so we should have about 90-ish spare days to try focusing on some other focuses like local conversions. Tell you what, I'm gonna do this instead, just because with the manpower, maybe I can rush out a few extra troops and I'll still have enough time to get everything I want before the war begins. There we go, I got enough manpower to field a couple more units here. Just need a little bit more infantry equipment and then we'll have another set of Undying Knights ready to go. Yeah, this is timing out nicely. And we can't continue down the dirty bomb cleansing lights or the meaning of sacrifice until we are at war. So now we've got everything we wanted there. I could go down things like the armies of the faithful, which I think would make sense. It's time to get some additional stockpiles, get more war support, and so on. This does lead to an event of some sort. Gurs silently stood alongside his loyal task force on a hill overlooking the east side of Fort Laramie. The rotten general, as he had come to be identified by both those who despised and those who praised him, raised his warhammer's handle, silently slamming the head onto the ground. It was time. A single shot was fired into the air, signaling to the remaining force on the west side of the fort that it was time to attack. The brown cowls of Gurs and his group massed their entry into the fort without effort. Whilst most of the fort's men were focused on the major attack on the west side, Gurs' group took out the remaining soldiers who wanted to investigate the shot that had come from the east. Okay, basic flanking stuff happened here, skulls were smashed, blah blah blah. Fort Laramie was now theirs. So what happened there? Did we just get some free tech? No, those are things I already finished. I don't know what we just saw happen there, but I mean, okay, may have just been some backstory with no particular impact. Anyway, let's go ahead and grab the Luminous Memories, because this actually would give me enough experience to get some support companies whipped out. There we go, and we don't have a lot of time before we do hit the war, so what would make sense now? Some stability, base stability, blah, blah, blah. No, I think we'll go ahead and grab the Ring of Hammers, get the extra war support, get some extra pipe guns, just because we are going to burn through some of our equipment here pretty darn soon. All right, so we definitely need to start getting our support equipment rolled out right now. We've only got a couple of days to spare. I should have enough to get the fire teams and the demolitions on here. And the war is about to begin. It sure looks to me like the baggers have left themselves wide open for me to make a beeline for their capital, which of course is exactly what I'm going to do, and I'll try to knock these guys out as fast as possible. So the war will begin now. There it is. All right, motorized. Go! Full speed. Now we could try to make an attack here, or I could just sort of hang back and just try to use speed to just take these guys out fast. And I think that's what I'd rather do. So wait, Ring of Hammers, I'm only 2 days in. Maybe I should cancel this and go ahead and do something else. I think I will. Dirty Bombs would allow me to irradiate northern Colorado and get 2 free feral units. Yep, sounds good. 15 days, 2 more units is good. I like it. My question really is, how strong are the Withered Dogs going to be? Also, are the Withered Dogs fighting the baggers? It sure looks like they are. Oh! I kind of figured they'd be united against me. Great. Well, let's see if we can't break through here a little bit somewhere, because already I've been stymied. They did have some troops. I didn't think they'd leave anything on this border, because I didn't realize they'd all be fighting. And then we'll go for the meaning of sacrifice, giving me that extra bit of attack so we can actually punch through some of this, because we're really struggling to still field enough stats to actually do anything. Yeah, even with all of this, we're really struggling to punch through anything here. They've got just enough troops to be a problem. They're cut off. So if I were to try cleaning up over here instead, maybe we'd be okay, but this won't be quite the same decapitation maneuver that I was hoping for. I'm gonna send a call home back to the Glowing Cradle, see if we can get 600 more manpower. That seems like a pretty good turnaround for me. Okay, the baggers actually immediately died. Well, that was really quick. I guess I'll demand this, and then I'll demand this, and we're gonna fight over it. Great. Okay, so I took 2 out of the 3 states. So that at least eliminates that issue, but now I gotta move fast here against the Withered ones. Actually, I could even just demand this territory, and I had enough points generation, we just took that from them too. So we actually took everything. Hilarious. So then, we've now got to push really fast and hard down here. So how quickly can we redeploy our troops, and how much can we pin them down? That's the new question. The answer is, so long as we're fighting their militia, we actually can hit them pretty hard and fast. And we may trade a little bit of territory here if they start making their way around Cheyenne, but they can't get to Red Mountain, so if we base trade a little bit, that's not a big deal. I think it's going to be fine. We did get a lot of infantry equipment, though, because we did take those guys and their stockpiles. We actually can train a lot more troops right now. And we definitely want to do that. The more numbers I can field right now, the less, I think, casualties I should end up taking. There we go, we managed to just cut off a small thing around Camp Baggers. If we can punch through here, get to Old Sterling, that would be ideal. The answer appears to be yes. It's really only when I'm fighting their ghouls that I seem to be struggling right now. But their militia are total pushovers, so my motorized can actually just run straight into the capital right now. Got it? Easy. So let's just try to cut the rest of them off, make sure I get their victory points. Here we go. Big flanking attack here in Julesburg. And this should finish things off, I would assume, right about now. There we go. All right, we win. Take all your territory, take what few ships you have, and that concludes my war. The last shot in the war for northern Colorado rang out today. The Smoothskins and the Withered Dogs have both fallen before our ardent fervor and growing might. A wind passes along the edge of the Great Rocky Mountains, as if in a sigh of relief that the war is done. It carries away the smell of gunpowder off of the breeze, but the stench of death and decay remains, and will remain until our converts clear it away to build something better. And that's the hard part, isn't it? So the question then becomes, what comes next? We could continue working on some of these civilian texts, and again, some of these aren't bad, like the written word is very solid. We do have something new available to us, though, and that'll be Heralding Victory. We would get an event called a Special Sermon. If that would core all of the territory, that would be amazing. I do want to look forward a little bit, though, like, where do we have our next round of wars? Do we have more war goals? The answer is yes, so in about a year, we'd have an option to declare war on the glow bugs. Okay, and then marching north claims and a war goal for Glow's Cradle. Okay, so yes, we will be getting a few more war goals at some point, and it looks like my next target is going to be my proper core up over here against the Glowing Father. But fighting across the river is generally just awful under all circumstances. What I might want to do is the classic Old World Blues trick, where I create a fallback line in an area that is so tempting that the AI wants to leave their advantage here, and we can then sneak behind their main force and obliterate them. Might be worthwhile, we'll see. Let's go ahead and do the sermon. I want to find out what happens. The Great Glowing One looked over at the former leaders of the Baggers, Goddard and Coleridge. The two of them had been stripped of their garments, save for their religious robes donned on them by the Great One's acolytes. They were hung in large iron cages, high over a radioactive waste pit.
It is with this great victory, feeble humans, that I cast thee into eternity. May it have mercy on your souls.
With that, the cages slowly descended. Coleridge was the first to suffer exposure, beginning to vomit on his robes, his brown hair fluttering off as if it were a wig. His skin slowly sagged until it came falling off, making the man resemble a melting art piece rather than a human. Goddard suffered worse. He screamed even before the cages began lowering, rattling the bars for the help that would not come. The screams only died down as Goddard's screams became more primal and feral. By the time the cages had reached their lowest points, both had become agonizing monuments to those who wronged the luminous ones. They could not even be determined as still being sane or feral, their ear-piercing screams continuing to dominate the ongoing chants and praises of the gathered crowd. The Withered Dogs, as they were already ghoulified, did not have to suffer the fate of the Baggers. They had simply been affixed with large metal cross nails to their bodies and outright tossed into the radioactive waste pit. Although it was a waste of good men to the Great Glowing One, it was necessary to ensure his men had no other leaders to follow beside him. Well, this at least reduces the resistance and issues and gives me a lot of compliance in all the other states. It's not as good as coring it maybe, but it's not bad. We then get rid of a couple of different generals. Got it. Well, the good news is I wasn't using them anyway. Next leads to the crowning moment. We will become the Kingdom of Luminescence. The glowing coronation. The Great Glowing One sat, adorned in his special luminous power armor, on his former cradle throne. The throne had been one of the only objects brought from Glow's cradle, being the main source of the immense amount of charging power needed to recharge the Great Glowing One's suit. Restored to functionality now that the conflict was over and resources could be spared, he once again wore the armor he had personally crafted decades ago to empower himself in a dangerous wasteland. His royal advisors stood closest to him, with his luminous warriors close by to ensure the full compliance of the gathered crowd in front of and behind the Great Glowing One. Although the Glow's cradle had yet to be recovered, the victory over the Baggers and Withered Dogs was significant enough for the Great Glowing One to decide to undergo his coronation as the King of Luminescence. The chained advisor brought out the crown and the modified and reforged luminous power armor helmets that had been recovered so long ago in the early days of the Great Glowing One.
I humbly accept my crowning as the King of the Kingdom of Luminescence. Now bow to me!
The Undying Knights readied their weapons, activating the radioactive green glow of them as the crowd began to cheer and celebrate, with the few who were remotely non-compliant quickly joining in on the celebration.
I am your king! I am life and undeath itself! I am the greatest of the glowing ones! We are eternal!
And with that, the crown was set upon the head of the King of Luminescence. Alright, so the popularity of the elites goes up, and we are now the court of the Luminous King. Well, okay, whoa! Hey, that is a pretty sick power armor, I'm not gonna lie. I think I liked what you had better before, but this is still pretty good. You look very intimidating, sir. So, what do we want to do from here? Oh man, we got options in front of us. Can always double back a little bit, which may not be horrible. Let's see, the strange bear flag. Yeah, gain cores. There we go. Cores are good. I like that. We could become the necromancer with decisions to convert certain notable characters into ghouls personally. I like that idea. And then there's for King and Kingdom, which looks like it will continue to get me additional militaristic bonuses. Ghoul paratroopers? Oh, that could be a strategy in and of itself, right there. All right, we may have to try things like that. And of course, if we just continue going down this center path, we'll eventually get more cores and some of those much-needed war goals to take Glow's Cradle. And out of curiosity, Glow's Cradle, as far as we know, has a handful of factories. Taking them back would be pretty good. It would be pretty good. So we'll have to come back to that in a little bit. I'll take a little time to think about it, though. Thank you all very much for watching this first video with the Kingdom of Luminescence and the Great Glowing One. If you're looking forward to this series of Old World Blues, then of course be sure to hit that like button, leave a comment, subscribe, hit that notify bell, and I will see you guys next time.